Hang on, let me just get my notes. There's so many things. I got photos and then the notes, and then I'm also looking at photos on the computer, like the other photos with the camera. Let's see. Okay, so we're 95, yeah?
96.
Oh, yeah. Good start. Okay, so day 2 coming to an end. It's 11:01. We're on the train back to Osaka. We left the hotel at 8:30 a.m.
Back to Osaka Umeda for like the 5th time
We'll
today.
probably be there for about
seemingly.
30 minutes trying to find the exit.
At least no need to go to a locker tonight.
Big day, 8 joints.
Pretty successful.
7, 8.
I think
Yes, no, 8 joints.
8, yeah.
And
Including Kyoto.
a very mixed bag. Probably thinking about this. Well, maybe I'll put this bit at the start and then we can talk about the actual joints. But yeah, complete mixed bag. But really, generally speaking, what? Hits?
Oh, massive hits.
Hits or flops?
Massive hit. Massive success.
Huge. Yes.
Massive success.
Yeah, huge success, yeah.
Especially, I think just right now what comes to mind is the really, really unexpected kissa called Santa Monica, which was like walking into a LA diner in 1963, except they're not playing the Beach Boys, they were playing West Coast jazz. I mean, just one of those jazz joints that you just immediately when we walked in and looked at each other like, what the hell's going on
Can't
here?
believe this just exists in 2025.
Unbelievable.
So day 2 done, and day 3 of this Kansai trip ahead tomorrow. More joints on the list. Up for a breakfast for a morning set, and then over to Kobe.
One of us may be up for a morning set.
You will also be up. James has had too many drinks. I could go to another couple of places now. I mean, if they were open.
Not if we're getting up tomorrow
I
for
would go. All right,
7:30 morning
all right.
set, but
Not maybe
no,
not
it
7. It was a
was
wee bit too early.
It was a little vocally at times, a little Nora Jonesy.
Vocally at times,
a little Nora Jonesy at times, but all the joints were wonderful in their own way, and yeah, man, Osaka rocks. I love it down here.
Yeah, good spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not as many places we went in just were washed in sound.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh,
okay.
and maybe a couple records were bought by each of us.
Potentially, and that rustling you hear is not, I repeat, not a record bag. So day 3 ahead. Yep. Okay.
Boom, Tokyo Jazz joints out.
Okay, welcome everyone to episode 96 of the Tokyo Jazz Joints podcast. If you've stuck with us for the last 2 episodes, you'll know this is kind of the third part of an entire day, and I think we're up at 6 joints already, James, and this episode is going to be essentially a kind of a postscript to the day. It's been a long day. Let me just double check. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've just left the mysterious Chetty as documented in episode 95, and we're making our way back to Osaka, to the hotel, I think, and a place quite near the hotel, which was a nice place to visit, I would say. Not like necessarily a must-see, but kind of interesting. What were your thoughts on the next place that we went to?
Yeah,
called Bricks?
I think considering that this was, there's always that sort of middle day on the trips that we do that becomes like the longest one, because we're already in the towns, we're not traveling, we're up early, and we've got a really full itinerary. So, like you said, we finish up at the lovely and mysterious Chetty. We got to get back from Kyoto to Osaka, so we're on the Keihan line, which is about a good 45 minutes or so, very crowded. Already a couple beers in, so start to get a little bit, nodding off, and then yet again fight our way through Umeda Osaka Station. So,
don't.
So
Very triggering.
So by the time we get out of there, we're kind of starting to feel a little droopy. But yeah, Bricks was one we had saved because it wasn't maybe not even 10 minutes walk, I think, from the giant station area. And yeah, it was, I mean, look, it's not going to win any THJ awards, but as a nighttime spot, especially after the day we had where we had been all around Osaka, North Osaka and Kyoto, it was a good spot to come downstairs and have a sort of like a wind down drink. Pretty old joint, opened in 1987, the same owner. Just small, spare basement. I have to say my initial impression, and if people who are doing double duty listening to OK Jazz as well as this podcast, you'll know my feelings about the lovely Norah Jones, not my favorite contemporary musician. So when I walk into a place and I hear Norah Jones playing, I'm immediately kind of like, okay, right, let's get this drink in quick and move on somewhere else. But thankfully, the tunes improved. After that, he was putting on some very groovy stuff. I got the notes a Ray Bryant trio album that was very groovy. So, yeah.
Well, actually, funny you should mention Ray Bryant because anyone who knows my photography outside of Tokyo Jazz Joints will know I'm a big fan of walls. I'm a big fan of things written on walls, graffiti, slogans, anything like that. And interestingly, in Bricks, it's one of these classic kind of concrete walled rooms or apartments that you get a lot in Japan, and so the entire all the surrounding walls of the bar are all concrete. And actually, Ray Bryant has signed a very large signature just below the air conditioner, which I have a little photo of. You can see on Instagram when you're listening to this episode. But I'll tell you who was more impressed with this place, James. I'll tell you who.
Mm-hmm.
D. Gerard from Thailand, because he has written on the wall just below the One Day in Harlem photograph, "This is my dream to be here," with a double exclamation mark. So somebody was more impressed than we were.
Okay.
Dream was to come to Bricks in Osaka.
Well, you know what, Philip? It's really funny. Listening to the other podcasts that we were working on, the great special with where you go through your musical background. It's already been online by the time people are hearing this, and hopefully they've listened. But remember, we had a little part in that where we were talking about how, we've been here a long time, and you and I in particular, this is our thing. We go around to music joints, specifically jazz joints, all around the country. So perhaps our standards of what's going to blow us away are much, much different. But imagine if you arrived in Osaka, you're from wherever E. Gerard is from, and you're walking around, you're enjoying the sights and sounds of Osaka, you're having some great food, and then you just pop downstairs into this little basement jazz bar with some groovy tunes playing. I mean, would you not think, oh my God, I hit the jackpot. Look at this place. This is incredible. I wish wherever I lived in Britain or Sweden or the US had a neighborhood bar like this. You would
or
have
Thailand.
Definitely Thailand. You would have that reaction. Because I would have had it too. The first, like if I had been, I'd gone to Osaka the first time in Japan, and that's the first jazz bar I went to, I would have been exactly somebody would like, man, I had the best night here. The owner was really friendly. The owner was friendly once we chatted to him. And the regulars who were at the counter having their having their Jim Beam and soda, they were very friendly. And so you can see why people would have that reaction. Whereas for you and I, it was just sort of like, okay, nice little basement bar. Music's okay. Yeah, you mentioned like the nice Ray Bryant thing. But other than that, nothing really that memorable.
I've referenced this a few times. I think it's me. To me, it's one of those places. I think I want to say 87 off the top of my head. Let me just check. 87, nailed it. Yeah, Booze and Boogie.
Probably because I said that in the beginning of my spiel on Bricks. So
that'll be why.
Yeah, certainly what you were
recency bias. But anyway, 1987. Sorry, I nodded off there. It's one of those places, I think, again, that, probably at the time, boom years, very hip place, probably couldn't get into it. It was really a hot spot to be, and I've just got written, kind of cool, fading old bar, but worth a visit.
Yeah,
all
pretty
CD
much.
and nice old master. And I mean, for me, the stuff on the wall is really interesting because actually under the Ray Bryant thing, and I'll post a picture of this, but there's a very intricate drawing of what can only be described as kind of like a Hindu god kind of illustration, but it's sort of a jazz themed, to the point where this god, it's sort of got shades of Ganesh, but the god has the B from the Bricks logo on the top of its head, and all the different arms are playing like instruments.
That's cool. I don't remember that. Okay,
it's amazing. But it was 2023. So, and what's incredible about it is it's quite intricate. So, like, someone stood there for probably a good 30 minutes just drawing that on the wall with a marker. So, it's not a, it's obviously people in there, and
look at it.
a lot of signatures on the walls as well.
It's 38 years, running, and clearly, like, the people that we saw there, those customers were very regular, the way they were talking with the master. So, again, being pretty close to JR Osaka and Umeda Station, you're not going to lack for people just deciding to pop in for a quick one, especially because maybe the coolest thing about Bricks actually is the two signs outside, one of which on the wall is one of those so it's just says Bricks in a blue circle, booze and boogie, which is very cool. But underneath that, it says the finest.
I already said that. Did you just nod off as well?
You did not say booze and boogie. You did not.
I did. I literally just said it three minutes ago.
I'm just looking for the picture.
Can I just say to anyone who's listening, you will just be smiling right now because we all know that I said it, and I will not go back and put it in. It will be on the original tape.
Well, then we're even, because I had 1987. This is just a riveting. You see, we're very energized this Sunday evening. But the reason that it really does stand out is because that font he's just cribbed it straight up from the Blue Note label. And we've seen that over and over around Japan, these older places that just, like Blue Note Cafe up in Aomori just literally just uses the Blue Note logo itself. They didn't even make any effort to change it. It uses the Blue Note logo on its sign. And so, what's copyright? Never heard of it. I guess at this point, it's not as if the Blue Note Corporation would be going around trying to get these things taken down if they even knew about them. But I kind of like that. That chutzpah to do that. Just be like, I like.
I think
logo.
if they
Let's just make a sign.
I think if they were, they'd be very busy because it's literally everywhere. They'd need a whole department just going around Japan trying to.
Well, do you remember when I told you about going to the Blue Note Kissa in Taipei? One of the only like really authentic sort of like Japanese inspired jazz kissa in Taipei. So when I went there, and of course I don't speak Mandarin or Taiwanese or any of the dialects there, so I had my friend translating, and I said to the owner, I said, "Look, your sign is just like a complete replica of the Blue Note logo." And he's like, "Oh yeah, like when the Blue Note was going around Asia, they came to me and they asked me to like change it," and I said no. And then they asked me if they could like, buy me out because they wanted to, buy out the name. And he's like, "No, sorry, I'm not selling it." I mean, it was so cool. He was just like, "Nah, but get lost, man." So I would imagine like it'd be similar with some of these old joints here for sure, that they're just like, "Look, man, it's just a sign. I've had it for 40 years. Why are you going to, why are you coming after me?"
I mean, I think they've got bigger fish to fry, and they're probably doing fine if those Tone Poet releases or anything to go by, considering the price.
Well, I was thinking, considering what I pay for a ticket here, when I have to buy my own ticket to the Blue Note.
Also a good point. Yeah, also a good point.
But
so yeah,
Bricks,
I mean, that was Bricks, and less virile young men would have probably just headed home for a bath and a nice sleep. But no, not us. We had one more place to go, and I'm kind of looking forward to talking about this place because there's an element of controversy, and I think we both felt very conflicted. I have no pictures of it whatsoever because we'd actually been to it before. But before we get to this place and talk about it, I have a couple of things I need to just raise. And the first one,
that sounds ominous. That sounds very ominous.
It's not really ominous, but the second one is literally as we're going up the stairs to the place that we're going to end up in to finish off the evening. But before that, I don't know if you remember, and I think it's an indication of how tired we were, because we were passing through a station and we thought, look, let's grab a bite to eat right now in the station. So we went into this really lovely kind of izakaya within the station complex, or one of these many hundreds of places that you get in Japan. But despite both despite both being reasonably good Japanese speakers and readers, and also you being, that's not to put too fine a point on it, quite a fussy eater. Do you remember? Do you remember what we ended up with?
Oh gosh, I may have been, I may have been a little overserved at that point, but I do remember that. Let's just say, I believe it was anchovies. Was it anchovies?
No, it wasn't.
It was not anchovies. Oh, okay, so it wasn't anchovies.
It was a pizza, and I can't remember. Oh, I tell you what it was. I know. I've just come back to me. So basically, James and I, we went into this pizza place or izakaya place that had pizza on the thing, and the menu was very badly constructed because it looked to me like two things. So we ordered what we thought was kind of a pizza with edamame and something else. It was like, oh, that looks nice, tomato and edamame, very nice, fresh. What we didn't realize was that the description of the pizza continued onto the next line. So when it arrived, James, it was quite literally covered with those tiny little squid.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Your favorite.
Oh my God. Yeah. See, it was, I don't remember that so clearly, but my reaction would have been, oh God, yeah. I mean, on a pizza of all things, goodness.
Well, we felt like we looked like absolute idiots because I think I did call over the server and I said, actually, we ordered the pizza with like just the edamame and the tomatoes, and she was like, oh yeah, that's it, and then sort of pointed and like just traced her finger along like the description of the pizza, and I was like,
man,
it's on two lines, okay, yeah,
that was unpleasant. I think we soldiered through it.
You had your way
as best
around
as
the squid,
possible.
I think. You had your way around. I don't mind them so much. I mean, like you say, on a pizza, maybe wouldn't necessarily order it again, but I think you kind of ate your way around it quite successfully. And again, an indication of how tired and perhaps, as you say, overserved we were.
Probably got another Heineken in as well, I think I remember at that joint. Yeah, this was amazing though. Like Philip, I mean, you mentioned it. It's just that endless subterranean malls that you get in the Japanese major train stations. I mean, there must have been 50 to 60 places that you could choose to eat, but all of them like really packed. I think we even picked there just because, okay, pizza and I see an empty table. Let's just grab it because we could walk around for
It's just
probably
an
hour
where you can.
On a busy Saturday night about 9:30, 10 o'clock in Osaka. I mean, just swarming with people.
Yeah. Well, look, we finished off. I think I popped a couple of those squid in your pocket just to see if you found them later. And then, did you ever find them? You should check that jacket.
Oh God,
it's the black leather one. It's the big black leather one.
Thinking about it,
you can eat them as a beer snack now. They're probably dehydrated enough. Anyway, so we moved on and we were heading to Bird 56, which is a place that we have obviously been to. It's dear to my heart in that if you have the Tokyo Jazz Joints book, the English version and actually the Japanese version, the back cover is part of the display that's in the toilet of Bird 56. Before we got to Bird 56, in the same complex actually is Top Rank, and it's notable, I think, because I went to it on my own on that trip just before I left Japan that I talked about last time when I went to Yamatoya and a few other places down there before leaving Japan. And then I think subsequently you went and didn't have such a good experience. Is that right?
You have it backwards. I went there years. I mean, I'm talking years ago. As I mentioned on this on the previous episode, many episodes. I used to spend a lot of time in Osaka with family, and I discovered that what I call the Osaka Music Building. You could still Google it. I think it's on Gaijin Pot. If that website still exists, you can see an article I wrote about the Osaka Music Building, which includes Top Rank and Bird and the Rolling Stones bar. But anyway, I'd gone first time maybe 15 years ago. And this was really before the ginormous like tourist boom, and certainly before the boom in listening bar culture, way before that. And so when I went there, look, I spoke Japanese to him. It was fine, but he made it pretty clear that he didn't want non-Japanese speakers coming. And I was like, okay, look, I'm just here to have a beer and listen to some tunes. He made his case. He was just like, look, I can't communicate with them and they don't understand what like a listening bar really is. And, sometimes there's been noisy people come in. I don't like it. And I was like, okay, that's fine.
Well, I'll tell you what,
A complete 180. A complete 180.
Talk about a road to Damascus moment. Because, I mean, I remember a couple of signs the last time I went, because I went in that trip and I had a really nice time. I photographed it.
When you were with Tom? When you went down?
I was with Tom. I photographed it. I remember him putting on like a gramophone at one point. He was like, "Oh, do you want to hear the gramophone?" He put on like a gramophone record. And I mean, Top Rank is like, it's literally feels like someone's like living room from the 50s. And, you know, I had a fantastic time, but I've never gone back in since, even though I've obviously passed it at least twice, I think, when we've been going to Bird 56. But I just was looking through my phone and I mean, it's unbelievable. So at street level, first of all, you're met by, welcome to my jazz bar. This bar is vintage audio and high-grade Japanese whiskey and Japanese craft gin and more. Thank you. So that's what meets you there, right? Then you get up the stairs to be met by another sign. Rich people around the world are my best friends. Have a nice time here with me. Thank you. Then you've got, please have a wonderful night in Osaka. Have a nice time here with this bar. Thank you. And then you've just got randomly playing analog records is the final sign. And then right by the door, it says, people who love supreme music with a high quality audio system are my important friends from all over the world. Let's enjoy a comfortable atmosphere with me, Jazz Bar Top Rank. So you could not have
unbelievable
more blatant advertising. And now I can only wonder, is it kind of a catfishing people on their way to Bird 56? I don't know. And obviously,
I wonder, well, there's a lot going on there. Like, first, yes, the relationship between Top Rank and Bird 56, not to skip ahead, but, you know, sadly, the original owner of Bird 56, the lovely Natori-san, passed away a couple years ago. So, but I was under the impression that they were not the best of friends. Okay, from what I had understood. And remember, this little Osaka music building is, we should mention, it is in Namba, which is like Chodo downtown Osaka, where everybody goes to shop and eat. I think a lot of our listeners will be familiar with the Dotonbori, you know, River Canal, and where the, you know, all the big signs are, and the restaurants with the big crabs and whatnot that people take pictures of. It's right there. So the amount of tourism, the amount of people that will be walking by this building who are visiting Osaka from other countries has to be substantial every single night. So again, yeah, we talked about it. We can only think that this guy must have realized, like, okay, it's going to sustain my business to make this a more welcoming place for all of the foreign tourists who come here. And yeah, I was absolutely shocked, and not just shocked that it happened to that joint, but like you said, Philip, the amount of signs that he had. I mean, I don't think there's any other place I've seen with that much, very, very obvious. Hey, come on in here for some music and drinks. Foreigners,
I mean,
welcome.
it's not,
you know,
it's not even close. I mean, just looking again, there's also pay cash only on the door. There's a description of all the audio equipment as well, and I haven't quite got it, but I can see on the left hand side of that huge welcome people who love supreme music sign, it says something about Fukui and records. So I can only imagine that's a reference to Leo Fukui, because again, sort of a gateway to a lot of Japanese jazz, and a number of people who are like, do you like Leo Fukui? Yeah. So, like, you know, it's really setting out his stall, and I mean, fair play. I mean, you know, more power to him, I think. But it's just interesting to see that kind of impact of not only tourism and the interest in this culture, but also the complete, like you said, 180 degrees turn from, I'm just not really that into foreigners. I mean, he's really had a almost miraculous conversion.
And look, I think it's great. I mean, you know, the entire purpose of doing what I've done all these years, and us working together as well, is to share this world with people who don't know about it. So if the owners are on board, and I can tell you, well, we'll be covering this in an upcoming episode down the line, but recently I've had some, the schedule here at home has flattened out a little bit, so I've got more free time, and I started going out to hit some more joints, Philip. So I was telling you offline, I went to 3 new ones in the last week, and one of which the owner clearly was having difficulty with the tourist element, because when I went in, there were 7 people there and not a single one was a local. They were all tourists, and this was a deep joint. So not every owner has basically embraced it like Top Rank. You could see that he was struggling with the communication in English and other languages, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, that's an issue that we've covered it a lot, and there's a lot more to cover. But yeah, I do remember that at Top Rank, and I think we even, I mean, it was getting late, and we did want to go to Bird because, now I regret it. We should have gone in. We should have gone in to talk to him.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it would have been kind of interesting, I think. I have some nice photos of Top Rank, but it's not in the book. It's not in the book. So, yeah. Anyway, we climbed another couple of flights of stairs to Bird 56. And the first note I have here, and it's kind of going to be interesting. I think we decided we definitely decided at the time, which may have also been, because you were in shock from the squid and also you'd had a fair few drinks, but we decided not to discuss it in too much detail until the podcast, actually, because my first note is just, that's my kind of response. And I mean, what can you say? Well, look, let's start at the beginning. We've both been to Bird 56 a couple of times. It's incredibly dark, smoky. We've talked before about the legendary Natori-san, who we've obviously conversed with. I photographed the first time I went there. It was a dark, smoky place.
Wonderful,
man.
Vivacious dude, as Osaka as it gets. And people remember the deep cut was when we first talked about Bird 56, but I'll share it again here quickly. He had to sign up in Japanese that said Nenjumukyu. He's open all year. So I asked him, is that just a sign? Are you really here every day? He's like, no, I'm here every day. Every day. And I'm like, oh, well, don't you ever want to take a vacation? He's like, oh, yes. I really wanted to go to see, I think it was Patagonia, like the penguins, right? And he's like, but look, I can just watch it on YouTube. And he showed me his laptop. He's got these YouTube travel videos he watches. And I was like, okay, sounds pretty cool. I can dig it, So he was just, he was friendly, very welcoming, loved the music. And so when we heard that he had died, there was some, obviously in all the the Jazz Kissa online people that we communicate with, nobody knew what was going to happen. Did he have a succession plan in place? And so when we walked in, we were so happy to see it open. But your comment pretty much sums up exactly what I was feeling as well. It's not like it's dramatically transformed, but it's transformed in some very key ways that maybe took away some of the deep vibeness that it used to have. It's maybe a little too clean now and a little more sterile. I get it. They've got to do that for the younger Japanese customers and the overseas customers. I mean, the old Bird was smoky, dark, very dusty, very dirty with a really, really horrid bathroom.
Well, I mean, I think if you remember back the time that we went, because I remember the last time I went that Natori-san was still the master, we were talking to him, and I remember being quite shocked because I had taken a picture of him in 2017, and then it must have been 2023 possibly that. So it was 6 years after COVID, and I was shocked at how much older he looked. But he was still there playing records, and I remember referencing, because down at the back right hand corner, just before you go into the toilet, there's a kind of a yellowy neon sign that says Bird 56, which is in the Tokyo Jazz Joints book. And on the right hand wall next to that, the adjacent wall, was this huge poster of Marilyn Monroe. And I remember saying to him, oh, the poster's gone. And he said, oh, yes, we took the poster off. And the wall was crawling with cockroaches.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
So, we're not, no one's arguing for just keeping somewhere dirty or whatever for the sake of it. And I think we've always acknowledged, you have to, first of all, these places are not for us. They're also not, they shouldn't exist in this state of kind of stasis where nothing changes, because that's not necessarily real. That to even expect that is absurd, because people are running a business,
and there's a danger. There's always that danger of, and we've talked about this for 10 years, Philip. There's that danger of really fetishizing this sort of old world that you didn't necessarily grow up in, but you fantasize about it and you romanticize it, and the reality is that maybe it wasn't always that great for these guys, and modernization would really help them. It's a tough question, and there's a balance to it. I think Bird 56, and so, well, look, we should mention, we sat at the counter, It was packed. The place was packed. Again, I think almost not everyone, but more than half the people there were visiting tourists. There was a big table of guys from London. When we walked in, we could hear them talking about music, and there were two young women from Singapore to the right of us. And then we sat down, and right away, one of the changes was, the menu comes. It's like a nice, slick, clean menu. They've added a couple different more new drinks and whiskeys and whatnot. They've even got little snacks and things, which I never used to have. And eventually we started to talk to the new owner, Yagyu-san, who I had recognized because I'd actually met him years ago in Bird. So he was a regular customer. And once I recognized him, and he was very busy, that night. It was packed Saturday night, but he did come and talk with us a bit eventually. I felt a little better because I was like, okay, this guy is not some random dude who's going to come in and just turn it into like a wine bar with, BGM or something. This is a jazz guy. He's been coming here for decades, And he's got a staff. I didn't catch her name, but she's a younger woman, but who clearly as well knew that she was like putting records on as well. She wasn't just there to serve drinks, So he and the staff were protecting sort of the jazz heritage of it. But there was just something, because you and I had so many good nights there in the past, in the original, it just kind of felt a little bit off to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably worth stating, right? So it was like a game of two halves, right? Because when you come in, it's as we said, it's all black. But what I noticed first of all is that the kind of black wooden, the kind of wood casing that's on the walls. Not casing, that's not the word, but anyway, the black wood that covers the walls has been completely replaced. So it's new wood and it's freshly painted. And then you come
almost
in through
shiny,
there,
almost like shiny in a way, like that, like the way like lame ass IKEA furniture looks,
And you come in through there, and then there is, as you said, like a bar, like an L-shaped bar, and it became very clear, which we can get to in a moment. It became very clear that kind of the bar seems to be largely the preserve of older customers and people who have been coming there for years, and the other section, which, as you said, had tables of groups of people and stuff, was like maybe non-Japanese or tourists or people that are coming thing. There's kind of new branding. It's an all-English menu. There's like Instagram QR codes, and they are very active now, or much more active. Well, they were never active on Instagram, so they're very active on Instagram right now. And the owner has actually recognized the name Tokyo Jazz Joints. He said, "Oh yes, the toilet is on the back of the book and stuff." So he kind of knew about this as well.
Yeah.
It was really interesting. But I mean, for context, like the black walls now are almost entirely covered with like white paint pen of people signing. Now, again, I was thinking about this and I was like, these are all obviously very recent signatures, almost again, always tourists or non-Japanese visitors. But then, a lot of jazz keys that we've been to through the years have the same kind of thing. But then there's also there's a Polaroid camera up on the shelf, to take a kind of Polaroid. So like, people will recognize that kind of aesthetic as, the kind of, for want of a better word, the kind of Instagrammable aspect of places. You kind of sign your name, you take the Polaroid, you stick that up, you've been there. But like, again, we've been to so many places, not just jazz places in Japan, where you see that all the time, right? Like signing is a thing, taking a photograph and putting it up is a thing. I mean, if I remember back to like, is it Papa John? Do you remember Papa John? Like all
yes,
half the walls were covered with like old color photographs of customers that had been taken in like the late 60s and 70s. So it's not like it's necessarily a social media thing, but it just felt like part of it just felt so like this is the kind of the Instagrammable jazz bar.
Yeah,
like I've been to this place.
And Philip, it's so funny because look, we're totally like on point the way we were thinking. But then when I was actually thinking about it today when I was getting the notes ready for recording, and it's funny because you run the risk of being one of these, like, and this is specifically the case in a place like Japan, of one of these sort of like gaijin gatekeeper type people. When you say things a certain way, like I know that, like, it's funny. My daughter was laughing at me. She's like, "Dad, you know what gatekeeper means?" I'm like, I speak English, okay, and it's not an old word. I know the way you guys use it. The way the kids use it might be new, but yes, I do know what it means. But it's relevant in this case because part of me does feel like it's sort of like, if we're doing this podcast, I think we're talking about it very fairly.
And because I don't want people to listen and be, thinking like, oh, it's just because you've been to like 350 of these places, you feel like, you've got to be the protector of it. You can't appreciate the new stuff. It's definitely not that. It's just a personal thing where maybe I just prefer the old style way. And also we're getting older, So a lot of the way that they do the new PR and the new media and whatnot, maybe it's just something I'm not very interested in, I definitely think that Wagyu-san and his team are very sincere about keeping the legacy of Bird 56 as how Natori-san wanted it. They're just adapting it to the new world. Natori-san was an old dude. As high-tech as he got was YouTube, right? But he was always chatty with people. He let people sign the walls, like you said. He took pictures of them. I think he would have appreciated that they've maybe updated it and modernized it a bit. Now, the cleaning up of the place and maybe the de-emphasis on some of the records, like there used to be more records around the place. Now they're only just in the one cabinet. That to me was kind of a little sad because I love seeing records everywhere when I walk in a joint, But, again, personal preference. Not everywhere has to be so higgledy-piggledy. Like if they want to keep it a little bit cleaner and keep customers coming in and out so they can maintain the business. And again, as I mentioned, right in the busiest section of town, that building, maybe the rent's going to keep going up, and up, So they got to do something to keep it going.
I think we talked, I can't remember if we talked about it or I was talking to someone else about it, but, and I think as well as anyone, but you can't assume, regardless of whatever the situation is, you can't assume that, that he just took it over as a going concern. And we know that often when places change hands in Japan, the conditions that have previously been in place for many, many years do change. So rent could go up. And so rare. I think we've always been, like, I've always been conscious of saying this when people say, oh, what do you think about this? And it's so popular now. And it's like, look, people have to do what they have to do. Also, like you've already referenced, about gatekeeping. I mean, people are running a business, right? So they have to make money, and it's quite possible now that he has to make more money, not least the fact that he's also paying staff, which Natori-san didn't probably do for a lot of the time because he was always there himself. And so but I think it's just probably when you compare what it is now with the atmosphere and the kind of the shabbiness and the kind of real authenticity that we remember, it's it jars ever so slightly, I think. And so that's probably the impression that we came away with. Yeah. I think also it's the cost, right? Because I remember, I don't know if you remember, do you remember how much the Guinness cost?
I don't remember. No.
Because I remember thinking, wow, when the menu came out, which is, again, as I said, all in English, I remember thinking, whoa, I think it was 1,600 yen.
Ooh, for a bottle. That's pretty steep, yeah.
And the whiskey as well, because I think I had a whiskey, and it was like, I remember thinking,
was
like,
expensive,
but that's just, for like, it was Bushmills or Jameson's or something. Like, it wasn't like a high end thing. And I remember thinking, that's a difference, like, and so again, you're like, okay, well, yes, you have to do this, that, and the other, but also,
and
like,
also
that's
remember,
a lot of
like,
money.
if you're paying like 16 to 2,000 yen for a regular whiskey, but with that yen being weak, still foreigner coming in especially from the States or the UK, is gonna be like, "Whoa, drinks here are cheap, man." I mean, they're not cheap for me. I get paid in yen. You know what I mean? But like, if you're on vacation, that's still gonna be cheaper than what you buy in London or New York.
Yeah,
so people are gonna be, and you're in like an Osaka jazz bar, so you're there for the experience. So I can't imagine anyone complaining about that. But yeah, no, definitely noticed that. Philip, one just to go back for a second, like you were talking about it being a business, and that's totally fine. I completely support that. And we also know other owners who maybe have a different financial situation where they've said to us very openly, well, I don't want more customers. I'm totally fine with the amount of customers I have.
Yeah,
or even somebody like, and we didn't even get his name because he was that quiet, the very shy guy at Owl in Ikebukuro, if you remember years back. That's a kind of place where he has pretty much no online presence whatsoever, and his opening hours are very limited, but he seems completely fine with that. So, it's up to the individual shop and their situation, how they want to do it. And obviously, for the reasons we speculated at Bird, they've had to go in that direction. Look, I'd rather that they did that than the place closed, for sure. But it just wasn't the same. And also just, and again, Yagi-san's a really nice guy. But it just wasn't the same without Natori-san there. You know what I mean? Like, I missed him, I missed hearing his Osaka dialect, and having him smile. He was just a great dude.
Yeah. I mean, it very poignant too, because, in line with Japanese tradition, there's a picture of Nattori-san up on the shelf and a glass of sake just there, beside that photograph. And I don't know if you remember, and I wouldn't probably post this on Instagram just out of respect, but when we started to talk about Nattori-san, the fact that we'd been there, the current owner kind of he brought the picture down and kind of propped it in front of us, propped it up against a bottle in front of us, and so that was just there as we were having our drinks. And I mean, it's just a really lovely lovely kind of way to remember him and sort of pay respect to that. And so I mean, complicated feelings, I think, when we left. It'd been a long day. We'd obviously been been drinking and we'd had our squid and everything else, so we were exhausted. I mean, that was the 8th place of the day, which is a long old day, right? And you're back and forth between Kyoto and Osaka. So all that kind of stuff was in the mix. But I mean, it wouldn't stop me going back to Bird 56. But I think it's just kind of, it makes you glad that you remember what it was like, as well as experiencing what it's like now, because
for sure,
it is a different place.
Next time I'm in Osaka, I'm gonna try to make sure that I make an evening where I can hit top rank as well. And finally, after 15 plus years, go to that rock bar that's in the basement that every time I'm there, I'm like, I got to go to that rock bar one day. And I never go because I'm always at Bird. But, again, like we were saying, it's 5-story building, I think. And each floor is a different music bar. The basement one is rock and blues. I think the top floor is like a little bossa nova place. Obviously, I've never been there. Then you've got Bird and you've got Top Rank. So just an awesome place in central Osaka. And I mean, I'm glad that we were able to have that experience. It did certainly make us think a lot about this whole thing of like what happens when these places close. We've seen so many different examples of it, and I'll have an update on our next episode about Eiga-Con, because I've got some new information about that. They're doing a really good job with the handover from Yoshida-san. Still up in the air about ownership, but at least they've got their concept down, and they've made a lot of changes, but most of them are for the good. So I was really happy to see that.
Okay, well, look, we'll wrap things up there. I think we headed back to the hotel, and we've got another absolutely bumper day ahead. It's our final day together on this part of my trip, and we're going to cover that in episode 97. If there's been a bit of a shorter episode, but like jazz, sometimes it's longer. The solos go longer, sometimes they're shorter. So if this is not enough for you, as James referenced at the start, and you don't necessarily follow on social media, but you just are tuned into podcast apps, have a listen to his Mr. OK Jazz Tokyo podcast, the OK Jazz podcast.
That's great. It's so sweet how you could do 3.5 hours on it without even getting the name right. The OK Jazz podcast.
There's so much. The OK Jazz podcast. Ikimashou.
SoundCloud. Tokyo Jazz Joints or Apple Podcasts. Yes. Part 2. By the time you're hearing this, part 2 will be up. I've just edited it this morning, and it was a great conversation on the history of Philip Arneal and his musical education. Really good stuff. A lot of jazz talk too, so it's a bit of overlap. But there's tons of stuff you can hear. And Philip, we just to give a little quick peek behind the curtain for our loyal listeners. You and I were talking about when the podcast started 5 years ago, and have never really gone back to listen to those early episodes. Well, while I was taking my dog out for a walk at lunchtime today, I decided to queue up episode 1 of the Tokyo Jazz Joints podcast. And let's just say things have improved since then. Okay, leave it at that.
Look, you know what? Also, we were in the middle of an unprecedented lockdown, a global pandemic. So
very fair.
Sue me.
Anyway,
don't sue me. Please don't sue me. Anyway, listen. Yeah, check out the OK Jazz podcast. Stumbled again. Hang on, one more time. So, check out 187 and 188 of the OK Jazz podcast. I want to say Tokyo. I just always want to say Tokyo at the end of it. The OK Jazz podcast. It's really good. I really enjoyed doing this. I have to say, it was really interesting to kind of dig back into my own musical journey, and so little of it up to the point where I really got into jazz is in fact jazz. It was kind of fascinating to do, and it was a really nice way to kind of, as we said famously, or as you said famously at the start of the first of the 2 episodes, to cross streams. Not something that we've done on this trip or are likely to do on any other trips. But
Good Lord,
anyway, have a listen to that. And we will be back with episode 97, where we'll finish off in Osaka before I head back to Tokyo and we wrap up this particular trip that I took in May 2025. In the meantime, James, look after yourself.
You too. Have a good one, buddy. Talk to you soon.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.